Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. It's time for another episode of Redneck Refining. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've made a video. I was back out here on the farm today having to put a roof on this old house because it's starting to leak now. But as I'm going through some things out here, I'm finding a lot of history, and anybody that knows me knows that I started out in this. I've got a commercial operation now, but in the beginning I couldn't afford a commercial operation. I had to, just do like everybody else does, improvise. So I'm in my proof of concept lab right now. And what I mean by that is before I go and drop a few $1,000s and a lot of labor and hours on something other, I tend to proof it first. Proof of concept, you got to build a prototype and everything and make sure that it works. But, let me show you where we're at. That's the door. And this is my old silver refining lab. This is where I test all of my proof of concept models at. And if enough people want me to do a video, I'll go through here and video this whole thing and explain to you what these items are and what they're used for. But today we're focusing on a 5-gallon Buchner funnel. And it's powered by nothing more than a shop vac. Now, you could get about 25 pounds of silver powder in one of these 5-gallon buckets. And once you finish processing your silver powder, you're going to need to suck all that water off of it because you can't put that wet powder in a furnace. When you put it in a furnace, what happens is all the heat, instead of heating up the silver and melting the silver, all the heat is expended on evaporating the water. So a crucible of silver will take 4 to 5 times as long according to the dampness and how wet that it is. But what we have in front of us here are 2 brand new 5-gallon buckets from Lowe's. We also have a cotton fiber t-shirt. Just any old t-shirt will work. I've used muslin cloth. I've used t-shirts. You're going to cut it just a little bit smaller than the inside diameter of the bucket. And I'll explain why in just a minute. Beside that, you have what I've cut out of a piece of EPDM and made a rubber washer out of. But I discovered later on that you could just use a typical garden hose variety type washer and it'll work fine. Here we have a 1/2-inch PVC coupler that has been threaded on one end. And beside that, that is a PEX toilet tubing connector. And of course you could see the hose as it runs around here and runs up, and that's what's stuck in the middle of the table right here. And to make a long story short, this little piece of PVC is the perfect size to fit in there. Then I'll usually wrap that with a layer of electrical tape just to stop any vacuum from escaping or anything. Now let's look at the buckets. And the first bucket here, let's look at it like this, has a hole drilled directly in the middle. And what that is for is that little piece of PVC to fit directly in the middle like that right there. All right. And then the second thing that we have here is just a regular 5-gallon bucket with about 10,000 little bitty holes drilled in the bottom of it. And you don't want to go all the way out to the outer edge. You want to stop about a 1/2 inch to an inch so that your filter paper, or your filter cloth in this case, seals to it. Now, what we do is I'm going to assemble this stuff and I'm going to try to give you an idea how it works. I might even shoot a second video. I've got some silver in some drums around here. It's been sitting around. There's about 20 pounds right there. I got about 50 pounds over here and a few more pounds over there. This stuff's actually been sitting here about 2 or 3 years and it's ready to dry and melt. I just haven't wanted to Hell, I don't sell it, so, price ain't been going up, so there ain't no use of me doing nothing with it right now. I'm just going to sit on it and wait for sunshinier days. But what you do is, once you get your little valve in the bottom of there, one bucket just slides inside of another bucket. And if you've ever had a 5-gallon bucket stuck in another 5-gallon bucket and tried to pull them out when they're under vacuum, it's hell, buddy, let me tell you. So these things are pretty much self-sealing from the vacuum. But what I'll do sometimes is, before I put this bucket in the bottom one, I'll take Vaseline and about this far down, you don't get all the way down here, about this far down, just put your little Vaseline all the way around the outer rim of this bucket. And what that does is this bucket's under vacuum, it draws it in, and the Vaseline helps create a seal. And the Vaseline don't interfere with anything. So let me pause this for just a second, and I'll put this little contraption together here so you can see how that it works. And then maybe once I get some of this silver out of a couple of these drums around here, I'll be able to show you how that it works instead of just telling you how that it works. So excuse me for just a moment as I pause, and I'll be right back. Okay, gentlemen, we're back, and as you can see now, I've put my little cotton cloth filter in the bottom of this bucket. This is the one with the 10,000 holes in the bottom of it. And over here, I've put my little adapter in there with my little rubber piece. And if you'll notice when I showed you that little adapter is about an inch and a half tall. And on the back side right here, you can see how this works. It just sticks out the bottom like that right there. And what it does is it just fits down on top of this hose from your shop vac, just like that right there. And then, even though that sticks up a couple of inches, you would think, well, the bucket won't sit all the way down in there. But remember, these buckets never fit exactly all the way down in there. But when you let it down in there, there's just enough room that it doesn't interfere. So you get a good seal around the top of your bucket right here. Because remember, well, you can see now this thing don't want to come out. Because remember, you're going to put some Vaseline. It's hard to do this with one hand, ladies and gentlemen. All right, remember, you're going to put some Vaseline around the top inch or two of this. That's if you need it. Some buckets fit together better than other buckets, and I found that these Lowe's do a good job of having a real tight fit. But put you some Vaseline around the top. Let it go right down in there like that. And it seals. And then you can start your shop back up, and I'll do that in another video once I get some of this silver out here, and I'll show y'all how that works. But you could dry about 25 pounds in one of these buckets, and then all you have to do, instead of scooping all this stuff out, is you just pick the bucket up with your silver in it. And then you just scoop it out, you put it in your crucible and melt it, or you can dump it out on a stainless steel table to let it dry some more if you want to save it in powder form. And then once the filter cloth dries, all you do is just shake it around a little bit, and 99.9% of the powder will come out of that filter right there, so you're not going to lose anything, especially when you're dealing with pounds of silver, because remember, everything gets recycled in this process. Nothing ever gets lost, nothing ever gets thrown away unless you throw it away. So anyway, I thought that'd be a nice little video to show y'all. These guys are out here yelling at me to get back up here on this roof and get this metal put on. So I'm going to get out here and get this metal put on, and probably won't be today, but maybe tomorrow I'll get around to doing some of this silver that I got in these drums right here. And I'll post and show y'all how well that thing dries. Everybody calls that my moonshine still. That's not a moonshine still. That's a condenser coil is what that is. I'll explain to you how these air-assisted diaphragm pumps work. And that is one big ass stainless steel mixer right there is what that is. You're going to have one of those if you're going to do this silver in this large quantity. But then you got a drum of nitric acid, and those things on the wall right there are where my scrubbers were originally going to mount, but I've moved them outside to another location out of this room because I was running out of room. But anyway, there's a 5-gallon Buchner funnel made out of a shop vac, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe it won't be 5 years before I make the next one. Until then, happy refining.